Dear viewers of Smart 24 TV, you are ready to go all over the country on Go TV 394, and that's our channel. I remain Dr. Joseph Tindebo, and alongside with me, I am with Dr. Muganga Lawrence, and he's the Vice Chancellor of Victoria University. We were happy to give him an invitation, and he honored it for purpose of also making a serious contribution to our community, especially in this debate, or basically discussion, not debate, and looking at the socio-economic strategy that Ugandans need for wealthy generation. I widen it because one time you say that we don't always refer government, all Ugandans.
All of us.
All of us, we need it.
Yes.
And we are saying we can generate wealth. I appreciate our first session, we talked about one of the pillars, which is a requirement for human development, which is referring to an educated class of people, the educated citizens. And the educated citizens, this is very important. There's a time when you go to Karamoja, we'll now begin to go into segments. I'll begin to mention sub-regions, because this is the realities. We appreciate the government initiatives to make a serious, maneuver to our brothers and sisters of Karamoja, and we are going to be looking in this second phase, both to finish on the point of enlightenment and human resource, healthy human resource. But we'd like to first reflect on some challenges, especially at different levels of our community. At first, there was a saying that you cannot wait for Karamoja to develop. And initially, I don't blame either whosoever made that observation. By that time, there were a number of issues. We are happy today, the Karamojong, we have MPs, we have businessmen and women, but basically the larger population, because of their cultural belief, a bit that transformation to believe that you can have 500 cows, but you are staying in just a grass-thatched house somewhere there, and you are not encouraging your children not to go to school. Of course, that's the lack of enlightenment. I'm having a reason why I'm referring to such. And there are some other communities, not necessarily the Karamojong, because I don't want to target as if it's tribal. You go to southwestern Uganda, a certain section of people, and even it is in part of Kasese, the Batwa. And for this one, not for them even, they were not either cattle herdsmen and women. For them, they were much more believing in living their lifestyle in bushes. In the bush. And to eat with their animals, those wild animals. Of course, there have been a kind of attempt to transform them. I was with Dr. Salvatore here some time back, and he said, so far we have around, they have graduated, even some have gone to school and graduated. I said, I need that graduate come over here. Because whenever you could talk about the Batwa, it would mean that you are talking about a class which is of no hope to the society. All that we are talking about is the human development, the human capital development. And I got an opportunity to travel in the East, and I was looking at what was happening, because there is an issue of being enlightened. And also, how do you use the available resources with you? The kind of enlightenment we are talking about, the other time I had also another topic, and we were talking about how we may be wealthier people, but we are the poorest people. And the reason being that we don't have what can make us wealthier, but the problem is we are not enlightened to know how to use the available resources. To me, I make this initiative and I invite you because I know in you there is a wealth of knowledge that you can come and share here. When you go to your university, to most of the universities, there's something which is still missing in terms of enlightenment, and I talked about it before we started the program. Some countries, they believe that to have a degree is not enough. I'm still talking about enlightenment. To say you are holding a degree, you are holding a diploma, but in what? I'm talking of the developed countries which has made it to a middle-income country. There is one of the country which is cited in the Asian, the Eastern, where it is mandatory. Here you are talking of competence-based education, but before, as a matter of fact, to emphasize on this, for them even it's much more modified from here. Before, after your diploma in IT, your diploma in social work and social administration, or degree, you will not graduate until you first finish this. I think they said that's Malaysia or Singapore.
Singapore.
Yes, before you first get a competence-based skill that right away ushers you to do work, not to begin carrying envelopes to go and say, I'm looking for jobs. Yeah. Over 400,000, our graduates, it is a problem. And while we are talking about the human capital development, it is supposed to address that factor. And we are bringing this enlightenment, as Prof, you come on straight away, how we can now bridge this gap. And even if we have the policies that have been approved by the government, by the politician, but how we can now let's call it water tightening into the system that you are talking. Come on, please.
Yes. So thank you. Thank you for that wonderful preamble. But you know where it all begins. We can talk about enlightenment all we want. We can talk about being healthy all we want. But what is key is education. Quality education. I will never shy away from telling Ugandans how important quality education, meaningful education is very important for us as a country. Competence-based education. You have alluded to it as one of the requirements in Singapore, that you can have all the degrees you want, but what skill?
So long as you don't have that one, they will not prefer to have gone to school.
Authentic learning. Authentic learning simply means that what we do in the day-to-day learning should mirror real life. In other words, the learning that happens should be one that addresses the real life problems we face on a daily basis. If that learning, like the communities should become laboratories. So a laboratory should not just be one housed in a particular building, but a community should be a laboratory for every learner to test their theories, to solve problems, to earn their scores, or everything in the community, solve the problem. So now, taking you back to, as I come to the enlightenment part you talked about, Dr. Tindiewa and the viewers, you'll agree with me. Let's go back a little bit, like 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if you look at the health sector, medication itself, drugs have changed. What people used to treat malaria, I remember things like quinine, like all those drugs. No one uses them today. If you're looking for aspirin for headache and everything, it has changed. If you look at cars, look at a car of 1980. Look at a car of 1990. Everything has changed, even in the appearance, even in being sophisticated a little bit. Everything has changed. But you know what is not changing? Education. It is still the same. But let me tell you, if we are so intentional, and forget about the stereotypes, that Karamajongs, that what, we are all the same. We are human. It pains me to see the kids you see on the streets here in Kampala. That's the human capital we are putting to waste on a daily basis, which you rarely see in other countries. The kids lining up in a street jammed up by cars. And that is just thrown, right? They are thrown on the streets. They are thrown on the streets. Their mothers are forcing them to come there and do whatever they do. Beg. It is painful. And that's the human capital. That's the country's number one wealth. Not the money people have on accounts and everything. So, but let's rethink this mode of education a little bit. Now, why is it that in this day and age, where, for example, universities, and we'll talk about now universities, expect students to come to a professor, right? And yet students are more. Why is it that a professor doesn't go to the students. Because there's a means of transport. There are means of transport for this professor to go to students. Technology. Take Dr. Joseph Tindieva to the students wherever they are situated in the country without him leaving the comfort of his home. And he will teach everyone. And you know the channel is technology. So it calls on us, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Education, to invest in credible technology that can carry all these professors to the students yearning to learn from the best. Now, you can have the entire country sharing the best human resource you have in the teaching arena by simply having technology carry the best to the students wherever they are situated. Now look at this, another situation. We live in a country where everything is operating 24/7, right? 24 what? 7. If you don't go to your shop for 2 days, chances are that customers have forgotten what you do and they have moved on to the next what? To the next open shop. But make a mistake. Look at what happens in education. Who told us, and we even took it literally the way it is, that we can only educate 2 terms a year?
2 terms.
Why?
So you're saying we can have 1 term?
We can even have open learning throughout the year. Why should we have 2 terms? You know what it means, 2 terms? It means a degree is going to be lasting for 3 years. What?
3 years.
Years. That means money for a parent to pay more money.
So we can go for a 3 semester.
Why can't we do it like open it like competency-based? Once you feel that you are competent enough in this concept, get examined and move on. Whoever is not ready,
another one, you continue.
Get another one and continue. Whoever is not ready, prepare. When you're ready, take the assessment and move on. Right? That mirrors real life because we can't be ready at the same time. You may be able to do this degree in 1.5 years. That means you'll pay less, right?
If I'm able to do it 1.5 years.
In 1.5 years. So you have saved your parents, if you were a young man, you have saved them 1.5 years of fees, right? Now, another one who is lazy, so those people are there who decided to take their things in their own hands, will decide to take it for 4 years or 3 years, right? So, thank you. So they take it for 4 years. No, who said that education should last 2 semesters? Right?
Is it possible to make this reform faster?
Competence-based learning.
I'm in agreement.
Yes, that's what I'm telling Ugandans and the policy makers. You have touched competence-based learning. Amazing. Authentic learning. Great. That's the best. But you know what? One thing I'm begging you, put it to higher education too. Put it to primary. And in higher education, it means when you're ready, you sit the exam and move forward. It's not about that all of us at the end of the semester, are you ready? Yes, we are ready. Sit in one room, write the exam, move on. No, it should mirror our lives because competency-based calls on, do you have the competencies required? Yes. Can you demonstrate them? Yes. If you demonstrate them right, then move on. You understand? And that it calls in what I told you about earlier, that a few things we need to know. That if we are looking for a very good education, and at Victoria University we call it new education. It's not a mistake to use 2 news. No, new, because people talk about new education. That one we are tired. It's common, but we don't even see it. So we are saying now, okay, let us have new education. And we are very lucky that the Ministry of Education has championed CBE, competence-based education. And Victoria University has also gone on board with that. We actually kicked off with authentic learning, experiential learning, competence-based education before. I think no other university has done that. But we are saying that can we also embed in our policies that learning doesn't have to last for 3 years. Learning doesn't have to last for 4 years. Learning in a year, we don't have to do it in 2 semesters or terms, whatever you want to call it. If it is competency-based, can we ask our students to prove competences? Here is the content to learn. Do you have the competences? If you have them, move to the next level. Before you know, someone has finished whatever they have to do of a degree program in a year and a half or 2. Do you know how much money they save in that situation? They have saved a lot of money. And they can use it to actually put...
Start up some skills, some
They have now some startup capital to operationalize everything they learned. Remember, competence-based is all about putting the head to work, the brain, put the heart to think about what you, and really conceptualize what you're working on, and then do it. The trios, you know, the head, brain, the heart, and the hands. When you isolate those 3, you get an education system we have today, and you get the products you have today, the graduates we have today, because the graduates we have today were not molded with the trio: head, heart, hands. So the moment we get all right, then you're going to see what you talked about, enlightenment.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
Now, if you don't educate right, if you don't educate properly, if you don't become intentional, if you don't deploy the trio, head, heart, and the brain into the learning of the child, then you're going to get a graduate that is going to continuously become a cost to themselves, to their parents, to the country. And we can't afford that. Now, we talked about the highest population growth rate. Now, assuming you have a population growth rate growing in the wrong direction, where are you going? How are you going to stomach that? How are you going to reverse that kind of situation? So we have to educate with quality. We have to be intentional. Just imagine today, you're asking for a graduate to produce a transcript as evidence of their learning. And what is on that transcript is grades and the courses they did in the program. How I wish we stop giving out transcripts of courses, of modules and scores, but we also ask for transcript that depicts, that shows one's competencies, one's skills. In other words, they are people demonstrating to their prospective employers, instead of telling them that I studied this and this, they are now telling them that I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. A transcript of skills, a transcript of competencies. That is an education that will overhaul
Thank you so much,
the
Doctor.
economy of this country.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I believe you are very loud and clear. And outside there, we believe, you know, some of you who may be associates or directly members of parliament, this program is the POLICON. We discuss matters of politics related and not for aspiring for a political seat, much as we have the capacity to do so, but yet to look at the economics of the country and the political class, the relevancy to the country can only be where you are shaping the economic policies that can deliver results. It's not only talking about this and that of how maybe the other one spoke very well in the parliament and you are giving marks. There are those scores for politicians. While not diving into that, but it is a topic of discussion that continue to look at a number of ways where you talked about the system, and now I personally target to the political system also, to the education system, and now I'm taking us slowly by slowly to the political system. How those who are politicians, how are they in, I had wished to be a member of parliament at a certain time.
But it's not too late.
And to me, to me, by being in parliament, maybe some people may be too honest and they feel they will lose votes. What is happening with the population, you know, I was down there sometimes back, 2006, around there.
No, looking for the votes.
For votes?
Good.
I tried it.
Go back again.
Really, you support me maybe. So why am I saying support?
You're very articulate.
Whereas the support is there of the people, it is quite discouraging to where we are, but we have not lost it all. The political system, especially electoral system, is one of a big challenge that is killing what we are calling human capital development and also enlightenment. I served as a civil servant in a community setup, by that time 2005-06, as a sub-county chief. We were, you know, the government was very keen, and sincere I can say by that time, at the inception of National Agricultural Advisory Service, there was a deliberate move of the government to spend money to have what they called service providers. By the way, sometimes when there's a blame to the government, there's also where I can openly speak to you, there's also a blame to our citizens. But again, government, the political class, they share a bit part of it. In order to have a village, a sub-county, because these service providers, specialists, they could go to teach. Because we being an agrarian economy, and to me, as I make analysis, the intention of having National Agricultural Advisory Service and a component of advisory service was to bring enlightenment to our population for agricultural productivity, which was supposed to be transferred into commercial agriculture. To me, I do believe that was a good plan and program. But my disappointment in the process, when it could reach time of elections, and the politicians, in order to meet people, if you don't have money to buy in our area and elsewhere, there is where they call Magua, other they call Tonto, other they call to give them their, you know, their local brews. Then that means they could listen to you, whether even you have the best information. And as a matter of fact, by the time of what we are talking as enlightenment, which is supposed to be generated during the political processes where some campaigns are ongoing, manifesto, I will do this, I will do this, you who may be enlightening the society how they can develop, even if you can be articulate as you are saying, you will not get a vote. And our colleagues who are in parliament right now, they know, recently they were increasing the salary, and I mean some allowance, and one of the things they talked about, they say, when we go to the community, they believe that the member of parliament is supposed to be supporting burials, you know, expenses, supporting weddings, supporting, and when you reach to the community, immediately, you know, you dish out money, and this is, then finally, it becomes a stepping stone to say that you qualify to be the next, even another term as a legislator. The enlightenment we are talking about, when you go and speak this good English to our people outside there, and you want a vote, and it has changed everywhere, they will not easily understand you. How can we bridge this gap? Number two, the kind of also the political class, I want now to go specifically, the policy of the government, the NRM, what they call patriotism. The patriotism which I was able to understand, to come across, which they do give to a certain, you know, political education, it brings the history of Uganda, which is good, but at a certain time, it is much more inclining people to support a system, maybe for one more other terms of leadership, but not basically emphasizing on how people should go into work and do it better. They do it very well. If you have ever missed it, they do, you know, that political education, which includes how people should be aware of security, which is important. How can we emerge in the middle and come up with a better product?
You know, again, it takes me back to what I told you earlier. Better education leads to great enlightenment. You have a population that you cannot confuse. You cannot confuse. They know what they want if they are enlightened. I thank God I've moved around to different countries, 49 to be precise, and I've lived in several. So, and one of them is Canada. So where a member of parliament is an ordinary citizen.
An ordinary citizen.
No one even wants to, very few people want to even become members of parliament, right? It's for those people who have a hobby of wanting to become a politician. It's not a rush for so many people.
That's true.
Because a member of parliament, no one will expect them to come and build for them a road or contribute to their burial. No. Their job is to go to parliament and become the voice of people.
And legislate.
Do their job. But why are they like that? They are like that.
But they're under pressure. When you meet a member of parliament, we tell a bigger story than my own.
I've seen them like, honestly, sometimes they are going to do things, not that they are in their hearts, but they are thinking of 2026.
Yes.
But we can do better. Because I have seen a member of parliament goes and they will send him back in those countries and they will send him back until when they realize the party in general is not doing well, addressing the needs of people. That's when maybe that member of parliament will be recalled. But all that, what they have done is that they have invested in formidable education. Education has touched every ground in that country. Quality education. It's mandatory that everyone has to finish high school. Quality what?
Quality education.
High school. And you talked about kids at 8 doing something. At 14, I remember my kids beginning to look for jobs. Don't think about it as child labor, but think about it as an ability.
It's part of the training and learning process.
Mentorship. They learn.
To know that a child should not only think about eating, sleeping, but should do something.
Make them busy. To position them to expect something like what they are facing in that world of work. Provide them with some transport. Most of the time, sometimes we even go to these employers and say, please, can you give my daughter some space to come here and observe what you do?
Let me come to you, sir.
Right?
Let me come to you 1 second.
Yes.
I do bring this now as an experiment. I have a child, she's now 8 years, I think 8 years, 7 years, she's in P1. Yeah. But now let's go back to our economy, which is agrarian. This is a bottle. After this bottle, these days, there's a system, recycling, which is being done. But apart from that, just common knowledge and logic. This bottle, when you have 30 bottles, the one which are already used, yes, you cut here and put soil. Yeah. You get soil, put it here, and you have 30. Even when you are in town, and this one you can teach your child. True. The child get 40 bottles of this, and in them get a very good bean seed, and then put it there. And in a certain compound say, those are your beans. Correct. At the age of 8. And then you show how the bean should be.
Do you know what we have done instead?
And this is not
instead of making that child understand the dynamics of life,
20
try to get this important experience.
You put in
parents have instead bought gadgets in form of iPads and tablets given to a 2-year-old and handed it over to them and put cartoons for them YouTube and subscribe to internet, and this child is watching cartoons morning to evening the whole day. And I can guarantee you the results are not going to be good.
Thank you.
That is not learning. Make your kids active.
To be active, right?
Make them active. The cartoons they are watching, the games they are playing on those tablets and iPads, before you know, those kids, their sight is going to be compromised. Their entire life is going to be jeopardized. Their thinking is diminished. Make your kids what?
To be very active.
So that's what a good education encourages people to do. But coming back to the system we were talking about. So we have a system that we have encouraged. You know, all of us, if you think about our parents, right? Your parents, my parents, it was very hard for my dad to sell his cow for me to get school fees. For him, he thought that the only thing that matters is his cows.
Cows.
Yes, not education. But you can't blame him. The generation he came from was about pastoralism and cows and milk and ghee, and that's it. That's how he thought. Now, the world we are in today is cars, it is modern farming, it is technology, it is banking, it is everything. Everything has changed. So therefore, if we provide great education, and I'm targeting the children, forget about us now. Us, we are like, dogs have hair, right? And some dogs shed, and they lose hair. For us, we will shed. We will die. But the kids, if we invest in young people today, those children will not listen to this, will not tell members of parliament to buy for them alcohol. They will not tell them first contribute to the burial. No, they will ask them, when we sent you to go and do ABCD, did you do it? No. When we told you to go and argue for us and make sure this legislation goes through as factoring in our interests, did you do it? It will be now a debate of issues, not how much you can provide. But that comes back to an education that is of quality, that touches the head, the heart, the hands. An education which I want to tell our dear viewers, an education that does not combine the trio, the head, the heart, and the hands. An education that does not result into a transcript of skills or competencies. That education is not going to lead us to enlightenment.
There's something I want to propose.
The only thing it will lead us to is another inflationary situation, academic inflation, where too many credentials are chasing too few jobs.
Too many
credentials chasing too few jobs. That is academic inflation. We should have an education system that allows you to think the head. You process it with your heart because you have to have empathy. And you take it further, and then you do what you have thought about. And at the end of the day, you have a transcript of skills, of competencies. And that's what you can demonstrate to your employer. And that's what you can use to solve a problem and employ yourself when you monetize the solution you have brought forward to deal with that problem. That is an education that will lead us to enlightenment in this country. And once we are enlightened, we will be a healthy country.
Thank you so much. I'm just having special quotes. I believe those in production will be able to have for us those special quotes. And we'll be able to share them on everywhere we can reach, having a transcript of skills. Yes. And what is happening with us, dear parents over there, and those who are still students, you just go and check on your transcripts. You are having transcripts which is talking about, let me go to some of them. East African history from 1900 to 1962. That becomes, we are having too many credentials chasing too few jobs, because it's good to know that history, but that should be part of your leisure, just reading. Because you read more history, but you don't think by having that, yes, there are those who are getting jobs in maybe who are in the education and maybe has history. But now at a wider scale, where you find that our curriculum, and the good thing, you have been in the system for some time, where we develop course units also that does not be part of the problem solving agenda, especially for unemployment. Exactly. Having a transcript of skills. Yes, sir.
Now,
yes, sir.
Ask the viewers who are kindly watching us, if you have taken your child, your young man, woman, to school, to a university, and they have completed, and they are seated at home, and you don't know if they even ever leave that home. Did you get really the return on investment?
The return
on investment. Everything you spent on that child, are you having the return on investment? You know why you're not having it? Because what you are obsessed with, what you cared about, is them to go through a dead system that only pumped content into their head, and the only thing they can do is to remember, but they can't do. Meaning, no employer needs them because they can't add value to any employer, and they can't do anything for themselves because they are unable to do something for themselves by training. They can't do anything by themselves. Therefore, your child, his child, her child in this country, they have so many credentials, and there are very few jobs because these are not job creators, they are job seekers. So they are chasing the only few jobs that are there. And remember that concept in economics or in finance, when too much money is chasing too few goods and services, now we talk about inflation. So the situation we are in of where so many credentials are chasing too few jobs is an academic inflation. We need to shy away from that and embrace and develop a system, competence-based education, authentic learning that mirrors real life. Then we go through a system that produces graduates that not only have a transcript of courses and their grades, but also a transcript of skills and competencies that demonstrate what they can do for the employer, or what they can do for their community, what they can do for themselves if they choose not to employ themselves, because they are empowered with competencies, they are empowered with skills, so they may not need an employer. So that is an education we are looking for in this country, and it is going to develop a better human capital of Uganda.
Thank you so much. We are still going on. You are doing very well. Your sharing today indeed is inspirational. We'll be going for a short break in the next few minutes, 2 minutes. And we realize that the aspiration of 2030 agenda, which the extract is referring to the Sustainable Development Goals, number 4, also the 2063, the goal 2 of East African Community Vision. The 2050, all that combined together, the 230, 263, 250, is to have an inclusive and equitable quality education. One asks whether we'll be discussing that in the second session, whether you have talked about quality education, but equitable. Whether the quality education we're talking about, the one which is existing, whether it is equitable. And also promotion of lifelong learning opportunities. And the skills revolution you've talked about, underpinned by, you cannot miss this, by 1, science, 2, technology, 3, innovation. The skill based on science, technology, and innovation. But the agenda, the Sustainable Development Goal 3 and Goal 3 of the Agenda 2063 still calls to ensure healthy lives and promoting the well-being of all at all ages. While referring to this, extract from the 3rd National Development Plan, NDP 3, which I had already mentioned, we continue to find that there's other challenges which are still existing. And these challenges, dear viewers, we look at, a number of the low access to early child care, which we're talking about, the kindergarten issue, all that. It is very low, and few can attain to it even. And we also look at, and it is mentioned to be 15.6% those who do access, 15.6%. And 55.2% and then 50.9%, according to the existing source of information we have, they drop out. There was low numeracy rate at that 55.2. Then those who have also dropped out by 2018, and this is 222, maybe let's be hopeful something was done about it, 38%, the dropout rate. We will be, dear viewers, stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. We'll be coming back to look at the challenges and thereby come up also with recommendations that we will emphasize on. Thank you so much. Stay tuned on Smart 24 TV.